Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Circle Debate Podcast Top 5 Picks of the Week. This is for week number 33, as we are dealing with doing our top 5 best of rivalries of all time. This is the host, DB's One Ivan C, here alongside with my brothers from another mothers, and I have the Kung Fu Fighting, and that is the Steamboats of all Steamboats. That's why he's the dragon, baby. He's the dragon. And that is MGC, Mr. Matthew Steamboat. And also, we have Mr. He's the one and only.
Mr. Kennedy.
And that is Chris Kennedy.
Man, they used to call me that in high school, like right at the end of when he was around, I think it was like high school. I'm so glad that did not stick. I hated that.
Nope. You're looking at it.
I could hear it from hallways away. Mr. Kennedy. I'm like, Jesus, fuck, man. Anyways, yeah.
And also we have the hero of all heroes who has saved us from retribution. He's almost there. He's almost annihilating them. No longer a WWE fan. He always says, fuck Bruce Pritchard, fuck Vinnie Mac. He's all about AEW for life, and that's the man with the 12-inch pythons that flexes for you and tells fuck Meltzer, fuck Alvarez. That's the great American hero, Mr. Mike Lopez.
And Chaos too, that guy too. Why not?
We're not going to mention his full name, ladies and gentlemen. We're not. So let's go ahead and get this started off. Once again, this is the top 5 picks of the week for week 33, which is the top 5 best rivalries of all time. So we're going to go ahead and start it off. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, da, na, na. Let's go with the dragon, the Steamboat.
Yeah.
Where is yours?
Get her done.
So this is in no particular order because I kind of like all these rivalries equally. Like I don't think I could really put one above the other. So I'm just going to kind of go out of order here. So first one, I'll just start this one off. AJ Styles versus Jerry Lynn in TNA.
Ooh.
That was like one of my favorite like early TNA rivalries there. And, it was kind of like Jerry Lynn, that was like the first time I saw the Gotch pile driver, or the cradle pile driver. I saw that so much, and, it kind of helped me get to know who AJ Styles was and them cutting promos on each other. And I'm just going to piggyback that on to my number 4, AJ Styles versus Jeff Jarrett. That went on for like an eternity. And I thought it was kind of cool how like Jeff Jarrett was kind of like a mentor figure with AJ Styles and Bullet Club years later on, like from former rivals to like student and teacher, both Southern boys and beards later on. Mm-hmm. So they had that going on. So number 3, this is gonna be a lot of people. This could be somebody else's number 1. This is gonna be pretty popular, but Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan.
Oh wow, I love it.
I like that.
It could be,
yeah.
And it could be any time period. I think you really need the darkness and the light to shine on. Like, Roddy Piper could have a good rivalry with anyone, but I'd say like Hulk Hogan really shines the best when he's up against Piper, and I think I was reading a comment and somebody said like if Piper got the title and had Hogan chase it, they could have made so much more money, if they had it.
I think we talked about that with titles. Yeah. We talked about wrestlers who never won the title. I think that was the story we talked about.
Those Roddy Piper,
Oh, yeah. I mean, Piper he could feud with anybody, man. I think you're right. So that's like kind of one of the favorite feuds, him and Hogan. Shit.
Yeah. You can cheer against him versus anybody. You can put him against any face.
Yeah.
And you will hate Piper.
Mm-hmm. You just have to give Piper the microphone. Let him work his magic. You don't have to tell him. You don't have to script anything for him. You don't have to. You don't have to have him rehearse. He knows what he wants to do, and it's gonna feel real.
Yeah, he was himself, for sure.
Definitely love it.
So number 2, I'm gonna go. You know, like I said, there's no real order to this. You know, number 2, Okada and Kenny.
Damn.
Okada and Kenny. You could you know, that journey to the top. Was it 3 matches in total? Could have even been more if they.
It was more than that. It was more like team 4. Like, I mean, overall, if we could go back when Kenny won the first G1, that was the first time he faced Okada. He lost. I think that I forgot what Wrestle Kingdom was that, but that feud lasted for I don't know how many years, to be honest. But it was just more. But you know how like he went back and forth, so it wasn't like constantly towards Okada. But you could tell that he went back. What I love about that story is he went all the way down to the rankings. He's trying to get back up, like UFC style, like trying to get back up to the championship, you know, picture. But yeah, I agree. That's the longest rivalry of all time.
And so many of those matches, you know, like I think that having that draw match, that time limit draw there in between, kind of like gave was like the main flavoring on that in that dish. You know,
Yes.
I always compare everything to cooking. But it's like, you know, you talk about like or drinking something, like you got that first match at Wrestle Kingdom. That main event is like the flavor on the nose, the front of the palate, you know,
Right.
that first drink, and then that final match where he wins the title, that's the finish. You know, it's like, oh, it's got a sweet finish or whatever. So
I mean, this ain't sweet, but it's, you know, it's refreshing.
yeah, refreshing, dry finish. You know, to even say that. So I guess number 1,
Drum roll.
Ric Flair versus Terry Funk.
Woo! I love that pick.
Ric Flair versus Terry Funk. I'd say like when Terry Funk pile drove Ric Flair on a table at the end of Wrestle War, you know, that was, and then it's like, oh, I was just kidding, Rick. I didn't really mean it. I was just kidding. I didn't. And then he just blindsides Ric Flair out of nowhere, like while Terry Funk's like interrupting Ric Flair in the promo. So
You know what? I really forgot that Terry. You just reminded me that Terry Funk was one of the hottest heels during that era, and I forgot all about him, like specifically because obviously we all grew up, and I mean, grew up with the attitude era with him being, oh, you son of a bitch, you know, just getting
Yeah, the senile old hardcore guy.
Yes, pretty much, you know.
Which that was the character. That is what it was. It's especially when it spilled over into ECW after the Attitude Era. When he got real deathmatchy for sure.
Forever, forever.
Those matches with Atsushi Onita, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I gotta say with Funk though, he's like spitting fire at the torch, you know, and yeah, cutting promos, and you know, everything he has going on there. Like he knows his move set. Just magic going on with that. I'm gonna remember what I was gonna say about Terry Funk in a minute, but I'll move on to my honorable mentions. So honorable mentions: Chris Jericho versus The Rock during the Line storyline. It was like, even though they were on the same side, it just kind of shows how there could be infighting from within like a good guy faction within a, you know. You think of like infighting like during World War II, or infighting during, you know, during like allies fighting each other, you know, French not getting along with the British while they're fighting the Germans. That like that, it gave that kind of, you know, mindset. I still remember like The Rock and Chris Jericho like going at it backstage, like fighting on top of a table, like after a match is going on. And I was thinking about that. I was like, dang. You know, all right. And my number 1 honorable mention: Rob Van Dam versus Sabu.
Oh,
fuck yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah. I love that.
That's a rivalry blessed with barbed wire, you know, more or less.
What was it, the pay-per-view which was that pay-per-view? I forgot. Do you remember what pay-per-view was that with barbed wire? I don't remember.
Can't be too sure. I remember there definitely was one with Terry Funk with lots of barbed wire. Just plenty. Like, it was like we got plenty of barbed wire to go along for your kids. Maybe if they've got like black licorice flavored barbed wire, or licorice in the shape of barbed wire. That would be kind of
gingerbread tables.
that would be yeah, gingerbread. That would be kind of fun. Or that would be fun if they gave that out at CZW shows. We got licorice barbed wire candy, you know.
Right, like a Christmas TLC match, gingerbread and everything else. Like the table's out of gingerbread, the ladder made out of candy cane.
That definitely has heavy ruthless aggression vibes though, like the turkey match and the Thanksgiving matches and the Santa matches, dude. That's definitely got like cake. That's got archery vibes all over it.
Instead of Singapore canes, it's big candy canes.
The candy cane, fucker. I knew you were gonna fucking say that.
I love your picks, bro. Man, that's awesome, dude. You're knocking off the park. To be honest, you got me on the Kenny and Okada. I was gonna take that one, but listen, I have to switch it. So
that's on my list. But I'll tell you, I got different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everybody has different reasons.
Yeah.
I might have to switch it. So I'll go right now. So my number 5 would be the Rock and Roll and Midnight Express era. I think that was like
I was going to include a tag team in mine too.
Yeah, like the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express was phenomenal. I loved it. Like with Jim Cornette involved in it, man, dude, I gotta give kudos to Jim. The fact that he took a beating from from Rock and Roll Express as he was managing Midnight Express. It was a great rivalry. It lasted, I think, over a year, I believe. But I enjoyed it during those NWA eras. Loved it especially. So I'm going back more to the past. My number four would be, this is I don't know if you guys, maybe I'm not quite sure if you guys recall it, to our viewers and audience who has, during the AWA eras, which was the Nick Bockwinkel versus the Gagne family with Vern and Greg.
Ooh.
At that time, because I remember watching those. Back in the days, you had the black box and you're able to see, what is this AWA? Boom, you're able to watch it. So I was really intrigued. And at that time, Bockwinkel was one of the hottest heels in AWA. And obviously the Gagne family, Vern and his son Greg, were the top baby faces of the promotion. And it was always either Greg and Nick or Bockwinkel, or if not Vern and Bockwinkel, always feuding with each other. So I actually enjoyed that feud for a period of time. But I love the fact that Nick was one of the top heels and one of the top champions for AWA during that time, that tenure. So definitely, I love that past. My number three will be. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the Attitude Era. Number 3 would be Mankind Undertaker.
Nice.
I love that because, man, when Mankind debuted it, that was it. That was like, I remember me as a teenager, as a teenager, like, who's this guy? Who's this? This is like the arch nemesis of the Undertaker.
It finally felt like Taker had someone on his level. Yeah,
I agreed. And that's what I felt like, someone on his level. And I remember the first time seeing Taker getting raised up, and I'm like, come on, man, get up, you can do it. No, he stayed down because, Mankind at that time annihilated him. And that was the first time that I was in shock that we found someone at his level, how you said, that took Taker down. And that's what got me intrigued. The Boiler Room match is one of my favorites, besides Hell in a Cell that we all saw, but
yeah, that's a hard one.
That's a hard one to beat, but still, like how it first started with the feud with them. So I really enjoyed that. My number 2 would be actually a Bret Hart and Stone Cold. That was a good feud. I love that rivalry because, and how Austin said on his podcast, that kind of like helped his career up, elevate to a big success before the whole 316. After 316, but you get what I'm saying. Like it just kind of like succeeded more. So it
felt like shoot wrestling. It felt like the first time WWE had shoot wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. It felt like, you know, those were fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's most definitely. My number one.
Do this.
Oh, I know this is old school, but I loved it. I loved it because it told the story, and this motherfucker. Even I'm talking about the past. I know I should talk more about Attitude, but there's so much to remember. I really like the feud with Savage and Warrior. Because why I say that, because it ain't the first time they feuded with each other. They feuded again over and over until that WrestleMania 7 won the loser leaves, loser quits WWE. Because I was like, Macho put Warrior over as well, besides Hogan. So, Warrior got put over 2 years in a row. Hogan put him over and Savage put him over. So, good for him. I loved it. That was a great story because they always feuded with each other. I actually enjoyed that. And Macho always helped Warrior, as much as Warrior was green as fuck, but I enjoyed that. My honorable mentions, I would say, since we're talking about New Japan, I actually love the rivalry between Naito and Okada. I do enjoy that one. That one I did enjoy. Because I saw the story how Naito was really going for that championship belt, but then Okada was like the number one. He was a John Cena at that time. He's still the John Cena to this day for me of New Japan. So Okada was like the main champ. He held that belt for a very long time, and that was the one belt that Okada cannot get. Like if he was a Thanos of fucking New Japan,
he just needed the one Infinity Stone belt.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how Okada, like, to me, it felt. But I love the fact that now Naito's a champ, and we'll see what happens the rest of the Kingdom. We'll see how that is.
Fingers crossed.
I have two. This was a tie-way. It's a two-way tie. I'm gonna go with, on this one, TNA, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle.
Sick.
Fantastic. I love that one because
that made TNA at the time. That was the fucking.
Oh my god! Do you guys remember when it was like all championship belts on the line? Winner takes all. Like that was my favorite. Even though the first time,
Triple Crown.
Oh, then when Kurt Angle showed up the first time, he headbutted Joe. Oh my god, he gashed everywhere. That was my favorite. They went to the point that they wrestled like MMA style. I think it was what was it? What was that pay-per-view called? Cage, or I don't know, something.
Lockdown.
Lockdown. There you go. Lockdown.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Yes, I remember that.
That was clutch right there, Matt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good shit. The other one that I did like, and talk about for the ECW one, that was actually my favorite one from ECW was actually Raven and Sandman. That was actually not a bad feud. I did love that one because it pissed people off, especially what he did. But I love that feud with him and Sandman.
Where so the viewers don't know, it was Raven was like stealing his family, or something like that, and he was like, I think they actually brought like Sandman's like 5-year-old kid into the picture,
his actual family.
Yeah, it was.
I remember that shit.
It was really dark for even ECW.
Dude, I don't know how Heyman allowed it.
I don't know how fucking Sandman allowed. I mean, it is ultimately up to Sandman, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but yeah.
Money, popularity, like he gets the story. I give kudos to Sandman to allow it. That was like fucking incredible.
Didn't he have? Yeah, I'm looking it up right now, man, because I forgot about that for sure.
And then remember how he ended up hanging him like in the cross. That was like the most controversial right there.
Oh, that's right. And Raven converted Sandman's kid into like a little raven.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Dad. Dude.
Oh my god.
That was so dark even for ECW. I loved it. Raven was really on it back then.
Oh man, definitely. I thought that's like one of my fucking favorites of ECW that I remember.
Fuck yeah, dude. You got my respect on that call. Good job.
All right. Let's go with the one and only.
Oh, shit.
Take it away.
All right. I like my list. My list I like a lot. All right, number 5 is Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock during the dark ages of UFC.
Yes, nice fucking pick.
So
Love it.
UFC was on the outskirts during this era. They had yet to be bought by Zuffa. They were still owned, I think, by Semaphore Entertainment Group, SEG, and were fighting legal litigation left and right. I mean, they were getting blackballed from venues, from states, from pay-per-views. They had to go to Indian reservations. And this feud right here kind of got people interested in it again. It was the first real MMA feud, I think, in America at least. And it had everything you wanted. It had shit talking. It had press conferences. It had, I mean, pro wrestling level heel and face. Tito took all 3 of those. They weren't even close. It's unfortunate. You know, it just is what it is. Those fights were not competitive at all, in my opinion. And, you know, all due respect to Ken, he came at him. He wanted him bad. He wanted that win. Just didn't end up that way. It's just that's the fight game for sure. But definitely one of the most important feuds in MMA history right there.
Oh, man. Hell yeah.
Number 4, 1998. It's what made him. I think it's what got him the world title. It's got put him in a picture. Is Rock versus Austin.
Yes, sir.
Rock was sitting middle tier, high level intercontinental championship status, but had yet to have been, like Triple H at the time, visioned as a main event world champion level contender. And I think this feud is what put him over the top. Yeah, people love seeing Rocky get stunned, and he was the first person to really take that stunner the way he took it, and just like you wanted him to get stunned 1,000 times a night. It was fantastic. He did the greatest. That was it was good, man. That was the Attitude Era at its finest. Number 3, Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo.
Go for it. I'll comment after. I want to comment.
The greatest MMA press tour of all time. Conor was going into bars in Brazil with 8x10s of Aldo and standing on the bar and tearing them up, and Brazilians were cheering him. That's what people don't realize, is that there was a lot of people from Brazil on Conor's side. There were a lot not on his side, most definitely. I remember the press conference, Conor grabbed Aldo's belt and was like, "This is my fucking belt." Conor would not shut up. Aldo was quiet the whole time like he knew something. He did not. A sub-storyline that I liked in that is if you watch, there's a clip of Conor talking about how he knew how to throw that straight left on the counter to Aldo coming in, which is the whole fight. It was one punch, 13 seconds. It was fantastic, regardless of who you cheered for. Conor had noticed at the weigh-ins when they had done the face-offs that Aldo's like right hand was like twitching every time Conor yelled at Aldo. So Conor's like, I picked up on this. I saw that his right hand would twitch every time I looked at him. So I knew he wanted to throw it. So right before the fight, he rehearsed slipping the right hand, throwing the left straight. And that's exactly how the fight goes down. The first right hand that Aldo throws coming in charges right into that straight left. People are like, yeah, right. You didn't really see that. You didn't really predict that's how the fight was going to happen. The footage of Conor talking about knowing about the hand twitch was taken before the fight.
Really?
Proving, yeah, was taken before the fight. Much like when Jorge Masvidal knocked out Ben Askren.
Oh, okay.
When people were, he was like, I knew he was going to do that. We rehearsed it. People were like, no, you didn't. It's like, this footage is from before the fight. I called it before the fight. I just didn't release the footage till after.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Conor and Aldo was stratospheric levels of MMA viewership. Fantastic. Led to the Mayweather feud. That's not on my list. Yeah, anyways.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that. Like what you just said about Conor, dude. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah. I can't imagine being so good at fighting. You can detect that.
Likewise, brother. Like hell no, I wouldn't even know either. Like what the fuck? Who come in?
It was pretty fantastic. Conor's a great, at least stand-up fighter, and psychologist.
Yes.
Number 2. this won the Monday Night Wars. This was the reason we still probably have pro wrestling to this day. Vince versus Austin. Everything about this was money, 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 money. This, I don't want to say single-handedly, but definitely was at the forefront of why people tuned in every single Monday night to Monday Night War, to Raw, essentially. Raw is War. Man, who doesn't want to punch their boss? And Austin got to do that every night for the better half of about a year.
I love my boss. My boss is
yeah, but you kind of want to give him the stunner every now and then, I'm sure.
It's like
no comment. No comment. You might be watching this.
I see my boss whenever I look in the mirror, and then I punch myself. So.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
You're your own boss. That's why, right?
Yeah. This was. It was beautiful. Vince had always been like a baby face, real cheeseball on camera face. And this was just like I said, this is money, man. This is what won the ratings war for sure, which leads me to my number one, WWF versus WCW, the Monday Night Wars. It's the greatest rivalry in the history of pro wrestling. Every night for 2 to 3 years, these two mega giant corporations never spoke about each other, but we both knew that they were in it to win it. NWO really had their balls in their hand, literally, for, I would say, all of 97 and the first half of 98. I don't know exactly when the shift started to go in the way of WWF, but it had to have been at least at WrestleMania 14 when Austin won the title from Shawn.
Yes.
And it was all downhill from there. The second version of DX with the New Age Outlaws, that definitely helped. I'd say Austin era, and then the second reincarnation of DX just put it right over the top. DX going to the WCW offices in that tank. I was like, holy shit. That was one of the first times in WWF history where they had actually acknowledged a rival brand. Shortly before that, they kind of did a little in-house feud with ECW where Lawler went over there. But ECW was never looked at as competition or a threat.
No.
This was the first time that this was handled on screen and they acknowledged it. Vince really still to this day doesn't like talking about other companies. We saw that when Sami Zayn got reprimanded for AEW.
Oh my God.
He had mentioned AEW during that Ask Sami Anything segment.
Yeah.
They didn't like that. But yeah, that is, I'm so excited talking about the Attitude Era, man, because this is what put it over the top for sure. Greatest feud of all time. I'm glad it happened. It was fun to watch. I used to switch back and forth on commercial breaks. I'm like, okay, so this is boring. This is just this is Steve Blackman. I'm going to go watch NWO. Oh, this is just Glacier. I'm going to go back and watch DX. I had to constantly go back and forth between the two channels. Because this is before the internet, gentlemen and ladies. So you couldn't just watch it the night before on YouTube or watch wrestling or whatever.
No. Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I'm so glad ECW was on Friday nights on the National Network, which became Spike.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a throwback. First honorable mention, I don't know why this wasn't on any of y'all list, is HBK versus Bret Hart their entire career.
Even the Intercontinental match.
Yeah, it started as an amicable, they started as the Rockers versus the Hart Foundation, which was just like a little sub feud. It was just a tag team feud, wasn't personal. But it grew into who should have the limelight more at WrestleMania 12 when Shawn beat him in that Iron Man match, which is my number one favorite match of all time.
Yes.
Which is a different list.
We're not WrestleMania yet.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get there.
there. That was the first two wrestlers that were heavyweight champions that weren't 6'5", 300 pounds that didn't know how to work. These dudes were a little bit smaller, but definitely a lot more conditioned and could tell a story in the ring, and brought the physicality to the ring. These weren't just giants with the test of strength and a leg drop as their only two moves. I'm just saying, No,
I agree.
The fans really grabbed onto both of these. If you ask anybody who your favorite wrestlers are growing up, you're either Bret or HBK. My mom was Bret. I was HBK. And people, you always get a really reaction out of either side. It was definitely, red versus blue.
Canada versus Texas.
Yeah,
Canada versus America.
It was a humble tech worker versus a flashy showman, and
yes,
I was all about HBK for sure.
A working class and a rebel, pretty much.
Yeah, Bret was a little too boring for my taste, but HBK had all the steak and sizzle.
Brett for me was more, you know, we can have a debate about it, but it's just that Brett was your aftermath of Hulk Hogan. He was the next hero. Like, oh, Brett, you're the hero. He was the most lovable one. You could say, I'm not going to compare him to John Cena because there's no way you can compare him to him. Or I would say Hogan because Brett was more with the kids and he was more of the hero because, you know, they still had that little gimmick. Michaels was more the rebel one, dancing around, prancing around. So, hey.
I love Van Halen because he was really David Lee Roth. Is basically what it was.
Yeah.
He was David Lee Roth in a gimmick.
He was your Billy Idol at the time.
I'll even say he's a little bit because it was the '90s. You know, when he really hit that peak. I'd say it's also a little bit DiCaprio too. It's like DiCaprio and David Lee Roth because of the pretty boy.
Yeah,
I'm a sexy boy.
I feel you there a little bit.
I can feel yeah, but I mean,
like his theme song is "I'm a sexy boy. I'm cute. I'm sexy. I'm a heartthrob."
And he knows it.
Yeah, and he knows it. So it's
and your girlfriend knows it too. I think it was one of the lyrics, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like it's a little bit DiCaprio, a little bit David Lee Roth. You know.
Yeah. I don't know about David Lee Roth for Bret Hart though. I gotta choose someone else.
Oh, not for Bret Hart. No, for Shawn.
For Shawn?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Shawn Michaels was David Lee Roth. That was the game.
Yeah, and to me, he's also DiCaprio too. His, you know, the heartthrob. The girls love
DiCaprio
him.
was like 13 at the time, so I don't know.
No, he was older when Titanic came out. He was at like 18, 19.
Yeah, but Shawn became HBK in like 93, 94.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then obviously the feud culminated in the Montreal Screwjob, which is probably the most infamous incident of all time, which is the worst and, like I said, most infamous way to end a feud. I got a gut feeling that Shawn knew about the whole fucking thing. So, I mean, what a way to go. Way to send off Brett, really fucked him, and then really...
Well, Shawn did say he didn't knew. He confessed to Brett that he knew.
Right, but it took him. He didn't do it right away. It took him a couple years, didn't it?
Well, come on. I mean, think about it. This is before he became a reborn Christian and
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Shawn we got after retirement was a different person in and outside of the cage. Because I heard the things backstage about Shawn, with Ric Flair in your building right there, Mike.
Yes.
Or sorry, Ivan.
Oh yeah, I have Ric Flair.
My second honorable mention is Kenny Omega versus Okada. But yes, for all the things that Matt said, but also because when you have two workers like this who can do what they do in the first match, what are they going to do in the second match that tops that? And then they did it. But then what are they going to do in the third match that tops the first two? And then they did it.
Trilogy.
I think these are the only matches on, I mean, fuck them, but Meltzer's list is right about having, I think these are the first 7-star matches he's ever put out. Something like that. And he's not wrong. Just them having to outdo themselves alone in the match storytelling is the rivalry. And I think it's one of the most important rivalries in just workmanship history, let alone storyline outside the ring, but just in storytelling in the match itself. I think are the blueprints for what a lot of mixed national wrestling. I mean, this is a Japanese style versus Kenny's Canadian strong style coming at each other, which sort of just like transcended style at all. They kind of created their own style. Which I think a lot of people, a lot of indies, a lot of people that are in promotions that allow them to wrestle like that, they look at that as their Bible. That is their blueprint for what working should be. And we're seeing that now in like some AEW matches. I don't think the Kenny and Moxley match was anything close.
No, not at all.
But
very, very different.
But the Kenny and Page match was pretty close. I mean, it was maybe 3 out of 5.
3 beers out of 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
No stars, no fucking stars. All right, all right. So especially you piece of shit, Alvarez.
Is it cups of coffee? Because I'm sort of not a drinker right now.
Okay, fine. Yes, 3 coffees.
We can just call it drinks.
3 Joes.
Yeah, but it definitely reinvented the standard, and for that had made my list.
Well, I mean, how about you said like that's the Bible of modern day wrestling? I could agree with that. But there's a lot of individuals that I'm talking about, pro wrestlers. I'm not speaking for them, but of what I've here they have their own different psychology of what's their Bible. Like, you know, they'll look at the modern day wrestling now.
Yeah.
There's some that looks at prior back then, like even the strong style back in the days. Like you remember how we when we interviewed Slice Boogie, how his number one is, you know, Ishii, you know, Tomohiro Ishii. Like he loved him, and Ishii's a strong style stiff person, but he's talking about his back in the days and what it is now. Right. And he does the same thing. And so this is not that's why, like, people has different Bibles who they idolize. And so people that, I mean, who is in the professional wrestling scene now, if they do see that, kudos to them. I have no issue with that. Just those.
Yeah, obviously, that's my opinion, is that it's a blueprint for great modern wrestling.
Yeah.
Obviously, since I'm not a worker right now, that can, everyone's allowed to, I mean, it's like music, you know, it can change, whatever can inspire you. But I do think that was three. Was there more than 3 matches? And there's
because
there's just 3 prominent matches because they kind of had to like build up.
Yeah.
But that feud itself is just global and legendary, and that's why it's on the honorable mention list.
Yeah, that's also one of the things we set up prior to the archives, ladies and gentlemen. You can see, I think, our top 5 best matches of all time. What we did say. I think Matt and I said everything. Dominion, when it was Kenny Omega and Okada, Dominion for the IWGP Heavyweight title. That was when Kenny Omega finally won the belt, and that was like over 60 minutes. I think the time was like 61 or 62, on some change that they went over. But man, that was an incredible match. So I love that. Now let's go with the hero of all heroes.
All right.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so number 5. I remember watching this back in 2005, and this was surrounded by controversy, real life controversy, so much that I could say, as a fan, I just did a lot of investigating on the internet, and this was Edge versus Matt Hardy.
I love
SummerSlam.
You're the man.
SummerSlam 2005.
So
man, it's just, it was like so much drama in that story. You know, if you don't know what happened, I'm sure there's plenty of videos that can let you know. But in going into that match, or the first match at SummerSlam, you know, little Mike, he, you know, I saw the punches going, and I like to think that there was some stiffness going on in there. But yeah, so you know, that's my number 5.
You know what? No, it was. There were stiffness there, because remember when the first time Matt showed up? Remember back then how oh my God. Remember all the internet troll of like what happened of basically with the Matt posting everything on the internet. And I think he was posting on his YouTube channel, him with Lita, like a paper cut Lita. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that, because I do remember that shit.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker went all out just talking shit about Lita, and then Edge later, Adam, and all this shit. And then I guess when Matt showed up, that was actually not kayfabe. I mean, he broke kayfabe. So that was legit. That's what he said, like, you know, Adam, you bastard, you know, I'm going to make your life a living hell. And Amy, Lita, and then that's what he said, oh, come see me at Ring of Honor. Like, the fuck? Why would you say Ring of Honor? And,
yeah.
I caught my eye on that. And I think that's what Vince loved. He was like, God damn, I need to send him back. And he got him back. He paid Matt Hardy big bucks to get him back.
Yes, he did. And there you go. Let's see, number 4. Daniel Bryan versus The Authority. Now, man, this one, the fans really helped kind of put it together, especially at the end, you know, with WrestleMania 30, including myself, wanting to see Daniel Bryan get his WrestleMania moment, main event, and that moment where in the Royal Rumble, where Rey Mysterio came out at number 30, and everybody just started booing him, like, boo, you know. That's one of my favorite. No offense to Rey Mysterio or anything.
They weren't even booing Ray. They were just booing that it wasn't
Daniel Bryan, right. And then having Batista win the Royal Rumble, it just, oh my goodness, it just Batista. Oh my goodness, the memes about Mr. Burns and Batista. But anywho, Botchamania, thank you for that.
That's right.
So there you go, number 4. Number 3, HBK versus Bret Hart.
Yes.
Now,
thank you, fucking thank you.
It's just, it's come on, how could you not? My goodness, this is one of those rivalries that set so many things into motion. You know, arguably the Attitude Era and everything that went on with WCW also after that. You know, just you know, the whole Sunny Days thing, and good job.
I wanted to. I didn't want. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to bring it up, but I didn't. But
Tammy Stitch.
Yeah,
Stitch,
shout out
man.
to Tammy.
She have a cameo?
I do not know. I do not know. But
For
yeah,
kids.
I think that
Dude, I'm actually pretty seriously curious.
I'm sorry.
we'll look it up.
I think I broke Ivan.
Family friendly.
Oh. Oh shit! I gotta hold my apologies. Fuck.
Wait, I can look this up right now. Do I just type in
Feel, yeah,
cameo?
do it.
Do I just type in cameo and
She does
type
not
in
have
name?
she does not have a cameo.
Bet. Fucking bet. Let's find out.
Ivan, have you searched it up already?
No, I have not.
Tammy Stitch. I even know how to spell Stitch.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, fuck. I don't think so.
No.
Let me try Tammy Lynn.
Oh my God.
Oh, let me just try Sunny.
A classic rivalry
Oh,
where WrestleMania was main evented by these two, the Iron Man match, and all the classic matches that these guys had and could have had Bret not left for WCW. But you know,
Yeah,
exactly, WCW and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's a shame that WCW didn't really book him as greatly as he could have been booked. But you know, that's another story, I guess.
Definitely.
Number two is The Rock versus Stone Cold. For me, I mean, for 16-year-old Mike, that is the climax of the Attitude Era, the main event. You know, Rock and Austin, and if you were to have these two at WrestleMania 37, I would buy that pay-per-view too for $9.99. So yeah,
only on WWE Network.
Only on WWE Network. But yeah, Rock and Austin, number 2. Number 1.
Sorry. I found
Biggest.
something else, but yeah, I found the Anna J cameo, but it's a bit pricey, but I get it. Sorry.
No worries.
Go ahead.
The number 1 rivalry is Vince McMahon versus the fans.
Oh!
Oh wait, from
Good night, everybody. This man just stole the fucking list.
cheated the list. I love
I'll say so.
Vince McMahon versus the fans. The fans wanting one thing, Vince McMahon, in all of his wrestling power, he gets to do something completely different. A battle that's been going on for decades, to this day, to this very second as we're recording this.
To this day.
And who knows how long this rivalry is going to be going on. You know, we're AEW has popped up now. There's that. But it's always going to be the fans wanting certain people to be pushed. McMahon saying, no, I don't see that. And just pulling the rug right under them. Example, Keith Lee, I think. So, you know, and just a bunch of examples in that regard. So, yeah. And he made it PG, I think. as far as I know.
His investors made it PG because when he went public, he
Yeah,
had
there
no other alternative option to go to PG because he'd been seeing more kids going to it, and obviously the FCC and everybody else were getting more involved into what's to watch and what's not to watch during the ruthless aggression era. So they had to go ahead and get involved, and so they had to step back and go to the PG era, which is why Vince did that. He got rid of TVMA, TV14 to TV13 to now PG. But he's trying to get himself in there into the PG-13, 14 era because as of right now, modern day television, and you guys can agree with me on this, that and no pun intended, like not disrespecting the none of the LGBT community. I'm not. You're seeing that that more exposed. You're seeing that more exposed. You see on TNT and any cable network, they say bitch, asshole, a shit, piece of shit. Like not the fuck, not the F.
No F bombs yet.
No F bombs yet. But I mean,
we barely got F words in ECW too. I mean, pay-per-views are a sign.
Pay-per-views are a sign, but like on TNN, you never had that.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Even on whatever it was before that.
Spike TV.
No, TNN became Spike TV.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But it was on something before TNN. I think because I remember I used to have to pirate it somehow on East Coast. I don't know what I used to do.
But I'm with you 100%.
I used to do something, and then it got onto TNN and made it a lot easier.
It was on USA before, I believe.
Yeah.
It started on USA and then went to TNN, which became Spike, and then it came back to USA on 2005.
Yeah, there you go.
But anywho, yes, so fans still to this day still watch the product, are hoping for a day where they reconnect with wrestling.
We're all just waiting. We're all just like hanging. We're like a little worm on a big fucking hook.
Yes.
Like just waiting for that thing to happen.
I just want Vince. I just want Papa Vinny to be like, I see Paul Levesque right next to him. Look, man, just call him already. You got Khan's number. Just text him already. And just tell him that you want to go ahead and do a crossover. Oh, he's gonna have to give in. You're gonna have to give in, bro. You're gonna have to. If not, call us, and we'll do it for you.
We'll facilitate the whole thing.
Yes, we'll organize. We'll
join the Dark Podcast.
That's right.
It could be in my backyard. They could have the pay-per-view.
While you'll be cooking, and then you'll have everything.
Chef Ivan brings the beer. I bring the vegan chorizo.
I'll bring a little bit of Jollibee too. Why not?
Oh, dude, yeah, that's a throwback.
There you go.
That's
view
right.
from
we have
Matt's
weird
backyard.
Conversations before these begin that sometimes drip into the live show. So bear with us.
Dripping.
In a similar vein, my first honorable mention was mentioned by Chris Kennedy, was WCW versus WWF. Now, from what I remember, the shift back to WWF was that night where Mick Foley won the title, where Shivani said that comment, Mick Foley's gonna win the title, that'll put some butts in some seats or something like that.
He said, don't bother tuning into Raw where a guy who used to work here wins their title, so stay here with WCW. I mean, no joke, that's almost verbatim what he said, because I remember it like it was right now.
Right.
So said, don't bother tuning in because Mick Foley, who used to work here, wins their title. And everyone's like, oh, wait, what? We're fucking switching now.
Exactly.
It backfired. I mean, there's poor Tony, man. I don't know if he was fed that line by like JJ Greenwood or something.
Eric Bischoff told him to say that.
Told him,
he said it on What Happens When on his podcast.
He talked about that. I need to watch that because I need to
watch that. He talked about it with Conrad Thompson. They told him to say that. Bischoff told him to say that because Bischoff knew that Mick Foley was going to win the belt. Because it was pre-recorded.
Raw was 2 hours behind, and Nitro was live as fuck.
Yes. Yeah. He recorded that, and then boom, it happened. And so it backfired. Their 83 weeks went to 83 shut down.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was it.
That was the first week where WWF started to win again. And there you go.
And it happened on a Raw, which you never see a major title like that change on a Raw. Even back then. You definitely don't see it now.
even watching the
I mean,
footage,
Drew McIntyre, actually, I speak to Drew McIntyre just won it back on a Raw, right?
yes.
Yeah, okay. So
Yes,
it
he
does
did.
happen, but it is rare, and that was definitely like, who knows what would have happened if Shivani didn't do that?
I
Mick
feel like
still won the title, but
it was inevitable. The way they were running the company was a big factor also in that. So I feel it was just fast forwarded by that comment for sure.
yeah.
But it was it was inevitable. Yes. So
Actually,
yeah. So there you go.
love
Second
that.
honorable mention is in the world of MMA. I was all in for this rivalry. My goodness, and I feel like Chris probably knows. It's it's Chael Sonnen. Yes, Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva. Man,
Oh my god!
oh my goodness, that rivalry. I will always remember that. I saw the first match where Chael Sonnen is beating him for like 25 minutes straight.
24 minutes and like 42 seconds.
Yes, it just
like 10-8 rounds. These were not like he edged out these rounds. These were 10-8 rounds. If you don't know scoring in boxing, which is MMA scoring, that's a different list. It's all fucked up. If you win a match pretty clearly, it's 10-9. But if you utterly dominate a match or a round, it's 10-8. And
yeah,
I think these were like 4.5 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, the fifth one would have been the same thing.
Yeah,
So that triangle that Anderson was able to get right in the final minutes, I guess.
It was fucking
The greatest comeback, of course, in MMA history.
Yeah.
And I remember that Sonnen was not popular or not very known before that fight. People wanted Anderson kind of to go to kind of lose. People were kind of rooting against him because
there were two fights prior to that people were they were disappointed in his tactics versus Talis Latis and
Damian Maia
over in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And I should know this off the top of my head. I think the Forrest Griffin fight was just before this title fight because that was like his first fight.
No,
it was after.
I believe it was after.
Because they threw him Forrest Griffin because he wanted a striker to show his excitement to get the fans back.
Mm-hmm.
So
that Forrest fight, there's this moment. Woo, there's this moment where it looks like the Matrix. Like he threw like 4 different punches, like a combination sort of thing, and Anderson just dodged everything. Like head movement.
And if you listen to that, Joe Rogan, the first sentence that he says in the beginning of that fight, where he goes, "I heard from someone backstage that Forrest plans on starting the fight with a 1-2 head kick." And as soon as he says that, Forrest goes 1-2 head kick, and Anderson just goes, "Nope." Just fucking Matrix that head kick. I was like, "Oh shit!"
But see, that's the invincibility that Anderson had, or it seemed like he had, going into the first Sonnen fight. So he was just dominated by Chael, and then that fight ended that way. Second fight, Chael versus the country of Brazil. He got death threats from Brazilians. And he, if you ever step into this country, you're a dead man, stuff like that. And there was this moment in the second fight where Chael throws a spinning back elbow or spinning back.
It was a fist, but yeah.
So and he missed, tripped over.
He missed so
badly. The momentum.
Not the time to try out that move for the first time. I promise.
Not at all. Oh my.
He said he'd never. I've listened to like dozens of hours of his podcast. Shout out to the You're Welcome podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He goes in depth and he's very humble about that experience. He said he had never thrown that ever in training and practice in MMA and pro wrestling. He had never thrown that move. He's like, what a way to learn on the job.
Yeah. And had WCW not folded or gone down, he probably would have been a star in WCW. I wouldn't have doubted that.
Top heel for sure.
Yeah. So one of my favorite rivalries there.
Yeah.
So that's my list.
That's awesome, man.
I can't wait to get into an MMA podcast.
We are just being advised, ladies and gentlemen, that just letting you know we will have an episode. We're gonna have our 2 brothers right here. They're gonna be going head to head. They're gonna go head to head with 2 other ones that I have already, which I'm not gonna mention yet. They're 2 of my personal, good, wonderful friends of mine that they're really MMA analysts. So I want to see them collide. So
I want to do some lists. I want to do some debates. I want to do some top 5s.
Yes, we're gonna do debates. We're gonna do debates with them and top 5
for some MMA
and yes, I'll be the moderator. So I'm gonna be the moderator for that. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen.
John Jones is my number 1 and for all of them. Spoiler.
And on that note, I'm out.
I just want to go ahead and actually thank everyone for tuning in and also for listening on Spotify. Once again, I want to give everybody a thumbs up for people that have been listening so far. We're seeing it's progressing, and we thank you so much for tuning in our Spotify. If you're listening to this as well, thank you so much for the love and support and for watching, which you see the description below. On the Spotify, we put our YouTube channel where you can subscribe right at the end of the video below. Even if people are watching right now, video at the end, subscribe to the channel. Once again, we thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure you guys enjoyed as well the previous interview we had with the founder of pretty much the founder that founded independent wrestling in Southern California, all over California, not just only SoCal, but all over SoCal, and that is Mr. Stephen Bryant from SoCalUncensored.com. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview as well. I loved it. If you guys didn't see it, make sure you watch it. It's on our archives. And he explains how SCU became all along, so make sure you watch that. Incredible. Thank you again, Mr. Bryant, for tuning in, for joining us. Like I said, once again, I did tell you that on that interview that you were one of my inspirations of creating this podcast. So kudos to you, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm doing the best that I can to follow your footsteps, hear us exposing every talent that we know, everybody, as much as possible. And once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Also, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to have a Christmas special episode that will be airing on Wednesday coming up. So make sure you guys tune that in. It's the League of Podcasters. We have JOFO in the ring. Here we go. And then we have, you got to give the people what they want. 30 Oben, Kofi Weaston. And we have that recap, rewind, recap, relive, Mr. James Bond, Mr. Jonah. And then also we have the James Bond voice, that's James from that 90s wrestling podcast. It's
Wrestle Addict. Wrestle Shack.
The Wrestle Shack. We're also going to have other upcoming podcasters that will be joining us. Will be Backstage Brawl, our brothers, Backstage Brawl from NYC, and also our brother Anthony, who you guys did see the Instagram. You'll find right below. I had a little talk and shop with him. Anthony from the Titantron podcast, so make sure you tune into him as well. And upcoming other ones that you'll see. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you much for tuning in. And we all bid you Jew. So we all say good night, mwah, and goodbye. All right. We'll see you soon.